What's going on, y'all? We're back, and of course, we've got an NFL trade to talk about. I know it's wild. NFL trade. I've been talking about an awful lot of basketball recently, and oddly enough, we still got to go over an NBA trade that took place over the weekend, and an NBA move that I would like to see one of the teams from said trade actually can take into consideration. But that's merely my wishful thinking. Either way, this is A&J, and of course, if you're looking for the best of sports and pro wrestling, the best of pro wrestling and sports, you want to be right here for that. So, with that in mind, definitely hit that like, share, subscribe down below, and when you hit that subscribe button, definitely don't forget about that notification bell, so at least you know when we're coming through with new videos. And with that in mind, feel free to drop a comment down below as we keep the conversation going beyond the vid. With that in mind, we're going to get the conversation on this one going. And of course, again, it's an NBA trade that took place over the weekend, Saturday to be exact. And as a Bulls fan, I'm not going to look at this as any bit of a birthday present, which, yes, my birthday was on Saturday, by the way. But of course, Lonzo Ball was traded from the Chicago Bulls to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Isaac Okoro, straight up 1-for-1 deal. And it's interesting. It seems like the Bulls are making moves to get defensive players around Josh Giddey. I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around the fact that we're seriously talking about a team building around Josh Giddey, which, take that for what you will, but nonetheless, I really want to talk more about what this does for the Cavaliers, as it's interesting on a couple of different levels. Because, one, you actually have Darius Garland, who, of course, is an all star guard who actually put up pretty significant numbers. Of course, he is an undersized guard at around 6 feet, and probably not even that as a measurable, but either way, it's certainly shades of what you got from Allen Iverson. Not necessarily quite to the same extent, because Iverson was averaging 30 a game, to where Garland has been around the low to mid 20s, if I recall correctly. But even with that being the case, him and Donovan Mitchell did form one of the more potent scoring 1-2 punches as a backcourt last season. And unfortunately, due to injury, they weren't able to keep going as the number one seed in the playoffs. And it would have been interesting to see how they would have matched up with the Oklahoma City Thunder. But nonetheless, I think this definitely changes an awful lot about how that would work, especially given that you've got a bigger guard in Lonzo who actually is defensive minded, but can still produce on the offensive end as well. Maybe not to the same extent as he once did, but again, that's the beauty of having a Darius Garland, where hopefully he'd be able to accept a role off the bench, especially because you want to have as much scoring coming off your bench as humanly possible. And I can't see this being anything but a good thing for the Cavs in the long run. But we'll see how all of that unfolds. With that in mind, move that I would like to see the Bulls actually take into consideration is the availability of one DeAndre Ayton, as he was bought out from the Portland Trailblazers. And this is actually kind of rare, because I don't think I've heard of a situation where a player was bought out during the offseason. I mean, just typically speaking, it has been more after the trade deadline towards the playoff push, and you may see a certain player that could actually help a contending team significantly if added to said team. And, you know, this to me, I feel like would be an ideal move, especially again for the notion of building around a guy like Josh Giddey. But with the things that DeAndre Ayton gives you, he's a very, very good defender, very good rebounder. Can give you some pretty good nights offensively at times, but isn't overly consistent. If that was something he was able to change, I think that would be huge, whether it be the Bulls or any other team. If not the Bulls, I would certainly see someone the likes of a Miami Heat being good for that. I I would think the Orlando Magic, if they weren't able to retain Mo Wagner, which actually is kind of wild that that's even talked about, but we'll see how all of that goes. Again, this is merely just wishful thinking on my part as a more reluctant Bulls fan nowadays, but you just got to put it out there. I mean, hopefully it happens. We'll find out. I mean, of course, there's the notion that the Bulls could trade Nikola Vucevic for Jonathan Kuminga, but I think they're going to look to try to keep Kuminga as he is actually a restricted free agent, and we'll see what happens with that. I mean, only time will tell where that's concerned. But with that, we're going to just jump right into the main topic. The Pittsburgh Steelers actually traded Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey. When I heard about this, I thought this was incredibly wild. I don't really know if I'm a Steelers fan that I'm as big of this as a move. Having brought in Darius Slay, you've got Joey Porter, and I don't know, I guess there's a lot of talk about Jalen Ramsey being moved to safety. I don't know if I necessarily see that happening. It would be good if he were there as a corner to give him depth. I mean, I don't know entirely what the safety room in Pittsburgh looks like, but I think it would be interesting if that transition were made with Jalen Ramsey going to safety. Yeah, this is really, really interesting. And even moreover, the fact that I just thought about this, and this actually is oddly beneficial for me as a Broncos fan, but the Dolphins actually had an opportunity to draft Jahdae Barron, or maybe even Will Johnson if that would have been their preference in the NFL draft a couple of months ago, but that wasn't the case. I'm trying to think who it was they did pick up. I think it was a defensive player. I can't remember off the top. Oh, it was, I believe, Kenneth Grant from Michigan, D tackle. But either way, as oddly enough, the Steelers got a defensive tackle of their own in Derek Harmon, who I wanted the Broncos to get. But that's neither here nor there. I find this really, really fascinating for the fact that you actually do have a need for safety if you're the Dolphins, as Javon Holland did move on. As I recall anyway, but nonetheless, I don't know. Yeah, it's just going to be really interesting to see for both sides how all of this pans out. I mean, man, if anything, it's a really odd move, especially for Pittsburgh. Like, we're talking the best safety in the league, and I don't know, like, just, again, having brought in Darius Slay and you got Joey Porter, like, why you wouldn't keep Minkah for that? I don't. D Mamba, get at me, man. I need you on this one. I don't understand. Like, this is just a really, really odd one to me, but I don't know. That's just me. Let me know what y'all think. Is this a good trade? Was this a good move? Was anything I talked about a good move? Let me know what y'all think down below. Of course, again, if you enjoyed, like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell down below. With that in mind, this has been your time with A&J, and I appreciate you spending it here.